We were watching this brother grow for years now on social media. The movement is crazy. He's keeping good company for you. LaRussell was in the building, man.
Yes,
Give it up for LaRussell one time.
LaRussell.
There's a little bit of a LaRussell hate train is what I was going to say.
I made this record and I sent it off to my engineer, and he calls me. He said, man, you probably shouldn't put this out.
What up, YouTube family? We're here to talk about LaRussell, the beloved Bay Area rapper whose positivity and community building took the internet by storm. And until just a few days ago, seemed like he had the entire world in his hands. Today we're going to do a deep dive into what brought LaRussell from being the internet's favorite indie rapper to a guy ranting on Instagram and eventually deleting the same app that made him who he is. This isn't just a story about music, it's a story about ego and how not knowing when to stop can lead to a person's demise. But before all that, we need to understand who LaRussell is. So let's go back to the beginning. LaRussell Dwayne Thomas, known professionally as LaRussell, was born on October 6, 1994 in the North Bay city of Vallejo, California, home to hip-hop legends Mac Dre and E40. Though Vallejo, California has a reputation for being a great city in hip-hop, it has an even bigger reputation for criminality and gang violence, ranking as one of the most dangerous cities in California. Despite the dangers of the city, LaRussell had a good home life. His mother and father looked after him and filled his house with not only love, but musical inspiration. Music genres like R&B, funk, and hip-hop were played routinely at his home. People in the neighborhood knew his family as people who had get-togethers and would often refer to his home as the party house. This greatly inspired his love of music and his need for community, which helped skyrocket him to fame. Born with an affinity for writing, LaRussell decided to make music his main focus, and even transferred to People's Continuation High School, where he could be given a bit more freedom to focus more on his passion projects. Right after graduating high school, things became a bit more complicated when he ended up having a daughter and becoming a 17-year-old teen father. Obviously, this motivated him to put music to the side and get a stable income, and that's exactly what he did. Until a few years later, when he realized that his passions couldn't stay to the side anymore. In 2019, he decided to quit his job and take a chance co-founding Good Compenny, an independent label and artist collective built to empower artists from Vallejo, a company for the people and by the people.
All throughout my life, middle school, high school, I've always been really brand savvy. Like I always had groups and cliques and rap groups, and like I was always that. I was like the leader of the pack with that. And Good Compenny was just like, you know, one of my reinvention periods where I'm like, man, what is this next era of my creations going to be? And I was shooting music videos then and working with a lot of different artists. And Good Compenny was just like something that popped in my head. And I used to penny because, you know, pennies is like undervalued. You know, I was thinking then like, man, when you walk in, if you walk past $1, you'll stop and pick it up. But if you walk past a penny, you just keep going. But if you picked up every penny you've walked past in your life, who knows how many pennies you would have.
As LaRussell's internet fame began to skyrocket because of his engaging content and relatable stories, he started to put on concerts in his own backyard. The backyard events were pay as you wish. So not only did they bring the city of Vallejo together, they also provided working class people who can't afford $200 Beyonce tickets a chance to have a nice night out and enjoy quality music and support someone who's actually putting out positivity into the world. This backyard concert marketing campaign took the internet by storm, and pretty soon you had people from all over the country and even sometimes the world coming to LaRussell's backyard just to see him perform. Pretty soon major artists and producers took notice, and it seemed like LaRussell's life couldn't get any better. And then he fucked up. From the moment LaRussell stepped into the spotlight, he became a star in the world of indie hip-hop. His business ideas and content strategies made him the blueprint for indie artists navigating the social media landscape. Like all artists, LaRussell had tried to deal with majors, but never really got a deal that worked for him. But once his independent career took off, the tables began to turn between him and the industry.
Again, I really salute you, like, because you, for us, represent that next wave of people who are going to like show people the way. And that shit is important for us.
All of a sudden, the labels that weren't answering emails, weren't taking any calls, and constantly dissing him were on their hands and knees begging for any part of his business. And for years he told them no, until 2026, when he decided to sign with Roc Nation, which caused a huge rift between him and his audience. Some saw it as a savvy business deal, while others saw it as a betrayal to his indie roots. Suddenly, whispers started to build and rumors started to form that the man who put Vallejo on his back just sold his soul to Jay-Z. Though some people in his audience still consider him to be independent because he owns his masters and has creative control, most people wrote him off for his decision with Roc Nation, and this decision really hurt his career. This is where it all went wrong. I think one of LaRussell's major mistakes is realizing that he's not just a musical artist, he's more or less a symbol for independent art. And that sucks because he wants to make his own thing and do his own thing, and when you're a symbol, you don't get that autonomy. People start putting on all sorts of different values on you and a moral code on you that you may not have. But it is one that they've put on him nonetheless. And when he did this with Roc Nation, it showed everybody, oh, the independent artist guy isn't actually independent. And he's just wanted to play ball with these guys as much as he could. And actually, he was just using us. He was just fattening up his Instagram account to get enough followers to eventually show them and hop right on their train. People rallied behind LaRussell because he seemed like a rebellion against major labels, Hollywood, and just mainstream media in general. So for him to sign and become a part of mainstream media, regardless of if he gets to keep his masters or not, makes him seem hypocritical. And this was the first time that people who were following him really started to question what his values were. You also get to see how this change in label status starts to affect LaRussell himself, the way he views himself and the way that he acts towards other rappers and other rappers' legendary status. And his first target was hip-hop legend Lil Wayne.
You know, like as someone who like grew up in these communities,
Right.
and grew up with homies who I seen want to be bloods because they following Wayne and want to be gangster and want to shoot all the gun bar and shit.
Right.
Like I've seen the negative that he contributed to the community, and I had to look like, man, what are the songs where he really talked about something and gave?
It also showed us that LaRussell's ego might have been a little bit bigger than we thought, because as soon as he signed with Roc Nation, my boy started talking spicy.
And out of a 1,000-song catalog, you know, it's minute on this end. If I hug you once, but I slap the shit out you 1,000 times, you know, your affinity for me is you're probably going to remember me for this.
Obviously, this incident caused a frenzy in the hip-hop community. A lot of people that were already upset with LaRussell for the whole Roc Nation thing started telling him he should shut his mouth. He doesn't know what he's talking about. And he still doesn't understand that this whole situation isn't necessarily people saying he's wrong. What people are saying is that, hey, this is the right message, but it's coming from the wrong messenger. I like LaRussell, but I'll be honest, his music is the thing that I like least about him. I didn't care about the music. I cared about the fact that he was doing grassroots shit. I cared about the fact that he was bringing together communities. I cared about the fact that he was appealing to children in a very, very positive and enlightened way. But he's so obsessed with his delusional thought of superiority in music, and music being why he's popping, that he continues to make misstep after misstep. But like most mistakes, time heals all wounds. And most people on the internet forgot about those comments and let things go by. Until the other day.
We all have been sent. Adolf too. We all have been sent. Even you. We all have been sent.
Throughout history, there have been many powerful men that have suffered horrible losses due to their own pride and ego. Napoleon was defeated by the Russians and lost 500,000 soldiers. The United States government was defeated in Vietnam. The Chinese even had an era in their history called the Century of Humiliation. But none of those things were as bad as the heaven-sent backyard LaRussell event.
He said, you know, you talking about Epstein, there's a lot of shit going on. And I said, thank you for calling me. I'm finna drop this.
I'll be honest with you guys, I've tried like 7 takes of this and I can't stop laughing. The laugh stays in. What was this guy thinking? It's a little bit ironic that in this song that caused all this uproar, he mentions Epstein, Trump, and even Hitler, because just like him, those are three men who will not take no for an answer. This LaRussell fumble has to be the biggest fumble that I've ever seen in hip-hop history. What was supposed to come off as deep ended up coming off as tone deaf and ignorant. Apparently, LaRussell's engineer was the one who told him that this song wasn't ready, and instead of listening, he put it out, showing once again that a person's ego and need for attention can be their worst enemy. LaRussell's comment section, which usually has comments like, "Keep it going, bro. We love you. Keep doing your thing," was now full of comments that read, "Not gonna lie, engineer was right. Unrelease it ASAP. Don't ever speak on Wayne again, bruh. And not gonna lie, we did not need this." So obviously, things did not go well. Unfortunately, instead of taking down the video and just letting it be, LaRussell decided to do the worst thing possible. He decided to feed the beast.
I think people mistake what I'm saying for me like being complicit.
Right.
Like they think it was me showing support, but they didn't think it was me showing support to Martin, Malcolm, and Kanye, who I also mentioned. They just think it was me showing support to him.
You gotta stay away from fake outrage and fake righteousness. You know, the niggas who do all that in the comments and make little videos and posts and then go back to their life and don't do nothing in their community and don't do nothing to help or create a solution for what they supposedly outraged about. You gotta watch them niggas. You care so much, but you do so little. How can that be? You care so much, but you do so little. If you care so much, we will see you outside impacting your community.
This response video made people a lot angrier and caused them to call LaRussell out for two reasons. One, because obviously you can work in your community and still be upset at something like this. And number two, even if you don't volunteer in your community, what he said is still stupid. What LaRussell and the small amount of people who seem to agree with him seem to not understand is that we all actually understand that, yes, someone like Jeffrey Epstein and someone like me and you and whoever else in the world were all technically heaven sent. We realize that. We understand that. When you are in a world of fascism, racism, xenophobia, unnecessary wars because of this small group of people who just a few years ago ended up being exposed for doing disgusting, awful acts with children on an island, are also heaven sent, you come off as an idiot. Now, far be it from me to tell anybody with actual money what to do, but I will say when it comes to the internet and doing something wrong that goes viral, just take the video down and shut the fuck up. You don't need to apologize, and you don't need to prove why you were right. If you just give it time and let it breathe, it'll die. But of course, that's not what he did. Not only did LaRussell do a video statement, he also dropped a written statement tripling down on this entire incident, driving people in the comments and in his audience to question everything about this man. His intelligence, his integrity, his morals, whether or not he's actually just an industry plant, which is a rumor that's been bubbling for quite some time. You originally started out as an indie artist. And when you come out as an indie artist, no matter what, people think you have a certain amount of principles. And when you leave the indie world and then go mainstream and then start talking about Jeffrey Epstein as heaven sent, people start looking at you kind of funny. It sucks because LaRussell really built this whole thing up by himself. He really put this whole career together brick by brick. But no matter what, if you don't watch what you say and watch what you do, an empire can crumble. In the resurgence of fascist ideals, this is not the time to be talking about how the bad guys are also human. I checked LaRussell's Instagram and it's not there anymore. It's deactivated. He took it down. Although he acted unbothered for a while, I can tell this is really starting to get under his skin. Instagram is the sole reason that I know who LaRussell is. It's his platform. So for him to pull off of there is very, very concerning. And I can tell that these things obviously hurt his feelings. That being said, I hope that he at least learns from this. He takes these lessons and he realizes that just because it feels good to say something, or just because something is technically ultimately true, it doesn't mean that it needs to be said and broadcasted everywhere. There's a time and a place for everything. And the backyard was the worst time and the worst place. But let me know what you guys think. Do you think LaRussell is right for doing this? Do you think everybody's overreacting? Or am I right? I'll see you later. Please make sure to like, share, subscribe. Peace.